my lovelies. I am Jamie Dawn, your evolutionary revolutionary. I like just saying that. Astrologer, bringing you your celestial wisdom for the week of our last full moon eclipse in Aries for the next 18 years. Well, I should say 9 years because the nodes will shift to the Libra North Node, Aries South Node in 9 years. But as far as it being a North Node in Aries and South Node in Libra, this is our last one for the next 18 years. So just putting some pattern pins on the map for you. And you'll see if you're observant and notice that there's a little change happening in my office here. I'm starting to rearrange some things before I head off to mystery school, which happens to be our part 2. And that is going to be next week on the 16th. So I'll be out of office from October 16th to the 27th, serving in my role as staff director. Thank you for the support as always. And as you know, if you would like to be participating and receiving the benefits of that beautiful, powerful healing energy field that we are cultivating while we're there, please feel free to reach out and give me your details or just say, hey, include me, please. And happy to do it. One of the things with Mystery School, and I won't go too deep into it, but because you can find it on 9gates, you spell out the word 9gates.org. You'll see how Mystery School is organized. But this part 2, we start in the high heart and we work all the way through the transpersonal, which has a lot more subtle and refined energy. And in part 2, we also work with death and dying. And very often what shows up during that time is our shadows. All so perfect with this being Scorpio. Well, we're still in Libra season, but we're moving into Scorpio season as well, as we have Mercury in Scorpio, Venus in Scorpio. The sun will eventually move into Scorpio on the 22nd. And we have this magical kind of dark feeling. And it's interesting because it's all leading us so appropriately into this full moon eclipse because things are feeling unstable. Look what's happening in the world. Look what's happening with Mother Nature. My heart, my prayers, my thoughts go out to all who are being affected by Milton and all who are still recovering from Helene. This is tough times, folks, and we're feeling, demoralized and unstable and fearful. And yet there's the deeper invitation to practice. And it's a call to prayer for those of us who have the capacity and have the ability to be able to be of service. One of the things that I witness and I love so much is hearing how community is coming together to support one another. Luckily, those who I know in those areas are safe. And hopefully, I'm actually recording this the day right before Milton makes landfall. And so I'm praying that my people there are also safe if they haven't evacuated. But all that to say, we're in this really deep time of pulling out this shadow. I keep talking about it, to be integrated, to bring it to light. Remember, we can't have shadow without light. So when we're going into our dark places, I laugh because someone recently shared with me, they're like, oh, I watched how I went into this judging mode and I started criticizing this and that, and then realized, oh, I was doing it. I laughed and let it go and practiced self-forgiveness. And it's like, perfect. So what that you immersed yourself in that moment of judgment? That's the shadow. And then you shed light on it with the light of awareness. That's what we're doing. So I'm going to present this view, my interpretation of the energetic field to hopefully give you some pins on the map that you can work with so that when they show up, you're not caught off guard, but also so that you can celebrate yourself because there's some good things that are happening. And again, it's an invitation to work with whatever does show up, and that's called life. It's just going to continue to move. And as I like to do, I like to have a card that we are meditating on for the week. So I've got my Celtic deck right here and looking at the cards here, shuffling them and finding that one for the week that we get to meditate on. I'm curious if this is beneficial for you at all. I have been especially excited to see how the cards have manifested in my life over time and without these various themes. So anyways, all right, so it looks like our card for this week is the Seven of Wands. See if you can see that. Seven of Wands. And the Seven of Wands has a lot to do with we had success with the Six of Wands. We're now at a position where we might be challenged by someone who wants to take our place. Maybe there's some sort of rivalry or jealousy or envy. The word I want to say is envy, but envious, that's the word. Some things that we've worked really hard to get where we are, but others are looking at it and saying, are you ready to fight for it? I'm not, you did something, I kind of want that, you know? So we may be feeling this comes back to that stability or feeling of instability that we may be having, where people are coming after and saying, hey, you said you wanted this responsibility, or you said you made this accomplishment happen. Maybe I can do it better. Or challenging it and stirring up some of that imposter syndrome that I hear a lot about and that I've suffered from in the past. And things like that. And so it's an opportunity to be able to say, hold on, I have all the skills, I have all the tools. I did make this accomplishment. Don't let these challenge moments dismiss all the good things that have happened for you. Now, the other thing with this is that it can bring things to light. We're working with fire energy when we work with wands. We have this fire full moon in Aries. And so there's a lot of passion, there's a lot of motivation, there's a lot of energy here that gets stirred up that we have to work with. Remember, the fire can run out of control and become a wildfire, or it can be a creative spark that we fan it and we turn it into an opportunity, like being challenged, where we have enlightening conversations. Maybe this challenge comes because somebody feels threatened by the good work or the success that you're doing. And now you have the opportunity to bring them in on it versus shutting them out. The other thing that I will say is that it may also offer some good feedback to tweak the project, the situation, the relationship, whatever it might be, so that there's greater self-awareness, or so that it becomes even more refined and even more beautiful and successful in your eyes and those whoever is being affected by it. So try not to see this challenge necessarily as being, I can't say it won't be frustrating and maybe a surprise, but see it also as a tool for, like, let's say the tumbling of the jewelry, the gemstone as it gets tumbled, all that consternation, all the impurities get tumbled off. And then you have a chance to look at it and view it from a much more pure way. There's purities that come out of that. Because remember, fire also is a purifier. Find it fascinating too, because here we are, as I mentioned, going into part 2, and we start with the heart space and that high heart. And the heart is considered the cremation grounds, because that is the propulsive force. That's where everything is alchemized to be burned away, and so that we can be born anew. So it's the grounds of transformation. That's why we use the heart field when it comes to Tonglen, right? It can take in all the pain and suffering, and it can transform it and alchemize it so that we can breathe out the antidote. So keep all that in mind. That Seven of Wands, that challenge, could just become the cremation ground that allows the antidote for something even better to step in. Now, on October 14th, I coined this in my Light and Shadow report as being a cosmic show filled with fireworks and forgiveness. And part of that, we've got Mercury ingressing into Scorpio on Monday, the 14th. Then the sun will be in a square with Mars and Cancer, as Mars opposes Chiron in Aries. So I'm sorry, the sun opposes Chiron in Aries. So we've got this trine going, this T-square going on with the sun and Mars and Chiron, while Jupiter also sextiles Chiron and makes a trine to the sun. So when we're working with, the Chiron energy, we talk a lot about wounds, right? But it also is the path of healing. Chiron is an asteroid planet that the archetype is all about taking those wounds and turning them into the antidote, into the salve. We know this with snake bites, right? The venom is actually what is the poison that then becomes the antidote so that we can heal. And that's what we're working with. So pay attention to things that get stirred up, scratched up, that sort of thing, to come to light, that may create a feeling of instability, might be really intense emotions that are stirred up. Mercury in Scorpio is going to really get to the bottom of things and want to understand it more. And so we're going to be asking a lot of questions, but that also can help us on our healing journey. And the energy occurs only a couple of days before the full moon in Aries. So everything is building, building, building. And the themes are very personal in our lives. But at the same time, energetically, I would say that the overall collective theme, what's going to be stirred up the most is our fears and insecurities. What are we most afraid of? What are we most fearful and feeling insecure about? Is it our relationships? Is it the way we show up in our relationships? Are we going to have enough resources to pay our bills or to enjoy life the way we want to enjoy it, or anything like that? The other thing that may happen and occur this coming week leading up to this full moon eclipse, and I'll talk more about the eclipse itself, but the energy leading up to it is that as we are challenging something or being challenged, what may feel is being affected is our ego, is our idea of ourselves, our independence, what we need for surviving. Maybe somebody we love feels like they're being threatened. Think about the hurricane. Maybe there is a loved one that you know of that is now being threatened by the damage done to them, to their home, to their loved ones, whatever it might be. And so you're feeling like you really need to do something about it. There's that feeling as well. The I'll say the practice that we'll want to take on is to take on more of an objective stance and remove some of the emotional triggers so that we don't make impulsive decisions, because here we are at this eclipse time, and eclipses have finality written all over them. We make a decision, there really isn't any going back. At least it will never be the same. If you're ending a relationship that has not been healthy, that has been toxic, or that has drained your energy, you probably, even if you did reconnect down the road, it may never be in the same format, right? So things are changing, which is not a bad thing, because one of the things that we're going to be looking at is our boundaries, and if a relationship, whether it's a romantic or professional relationship, whatever it might be, if something is ending like that, it's very often because we have new boundaries, we've reevaluated our values, what is closest to us. It's not feeling reciprocal with all this energy in Libra and Aries. It's threatened our independence. It's basically threatened who we are as individuals. Letting it go and transforming it into something else is one of the best things that we can do. At the same time, how we do it is just as important. So, as I always say, our words can harm or heal, right? Now, remember that as Mercury transits through the sign of Scorpio, conversations and decisions have this more penetrating quality. There's this investigator or inquisitor that often shows up, and we may stop at nothing to uncover the truth. If you're on the receiving end of a third party situation, or receiving information that feels like a secret being revealed, because that can also come up and out during this time, do watch out for paranoia. Watch out, though, that this could cut pretty deeply. And when it does, please, please, please lean in on your support system. That's going to be so important. But also, don't go looking for trouble when it's not there. That's something else we want to pay attention to. It's this dance between being really present in the moment and asking the right questions. Be careful not to make assumptions. With all this Libra Aries energy, especially with that North Node in Aries and Chiron in Aries, is that it often leads us to become impulsive with what we say, and we basically shoot first and ask questions later. And then we look back and we go, oh, maybe it wasn't quite what I thought it was. Yeah. So we do want to watch out for that. So I mentioned I'll go deeper into the full moon eclipse and it's based, the moons are titled, if you will, it's an Aries moon because the moon is in Aries. New moons are like our last new moon was in Libra. And so we have the sun in Libra standing across the sky at 24 degrees of Aries. And this is happening late Wednesday night or into early Thursday morning on the 17th, depending on where you're at in the world. And it, again, some key words to pull from this is our independence, passion, impulsiveness, action oriented decisions, motivation, making bold moves. So we're going to be feeling like, I would say, we're crawling out of our skin to make something happen. And when that happens, especially for those of us who can be extremely empathic and high sensitives, it's very volatile. And it's going to be super important to stay grounded. Grounded doesn't mean stoic and nothing bothers you. Grounded means being fully present in the moment, knowing you have a right to be in your body, and you take action and you speak words based on what's happening inside of you and what you can control, not what anybody else can control. So it's that idea of reaction versus responding, or responding versus reacting, you know. The other thing that we're going to be working with is that the angles, so we have 4 angles, which are important in astrology. They're going to be in hard aspect to the moon, meaning they're going to be in squares as well, in conjunctions and oppositions. So we've got the ascendant, the descendant, the MC, and the IC, and they're all in cardinal signs at this time. And the angles mark beginnings and endings, and each angle offers a distinct perspective on our journey through life. So briefly, if you think about it, the ascendant's the beginning, it marks approach to new things, and then directly across from the ascendant, the opposite and the start of the 7th house, is our descendant, which points to where we were at the west side of our birth, if you will. And basically what that angle does is it's the nature of our partnerships, the qualities of life that's helping us seek in others, and often what we project onto others. That's the descendant. And then at the top of the chart, we find our midheaven, or MC, and that often represents what we show to the world. It's our legacy that we want to leave behind. It's the manifestation of our highest aspirations in life. And then opposite the midheaven is our IC, or Emin Coli. I never say it quite right, it's Latin, but our IC, and that's at the bottom of the chart. That's what's hidden from view. It's like the roots of the tree. And it represents our inner world, our private life, our foundations. And when they're in these cardinal signs, there's this feeling of pushing forward or initiating, because it's the beginning. Think of cardinal like the beginning of the seasons. The cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, all start the new seasons in our cycle of seasons, right? So spring, summer, fall, winter. And so think about that. We're pushing forward, we're initiating, but at the same time, the energy that we may be experiencing could be directive. We may be on the receiving end of somebody being bossy. Maybe we are the bossy ones. Maybe there's not enough self-care. The cardinal signs, if you have a lot in your chart, have a tendency to push, push, push. And they forget how much self-care is necessary so that they have the energy to continue to lead and to push. Many of us may be found in leadership positions at this time, and leadership can mean many different things for different people. It doesn't just have to be at work. We're leading our children. We're leading by example with our friends and our family. We're leading hopefully with our hearts, in how we want to treat each other. So leadership can be in many, many different forms. So keep that in mind, that all these things are being stirred up for us to work with and to become greater self-aware. The more self-aware we are, the more we can make conscious decisions, which then can contribute to our well-being and the well-being of the greater good. Whatever gets released or revealed at this time has far-reaching aspects, far-reaching effects. And also, because this full moon has a square going on with Mars in Cancer, there's even more emphasis on the emotional body, on getting things done that we want to get done, and this constant fight for survival. So there's a lot of heat generated at this full moon, because we've also got Venus moving into Sagittarius at this time. And that gives us this extra boost for freedom and independence, because Venus in Sagittarius needs to have a constant adventure in order to feel connected, in order to give and receive love. It's like, hey, how much freedom and independence can we have? Jealousy doesn't go well with Venus and Sagittarius. So if you've been dealing with that with Venus and Scorpio, this is a great time to step back and go, okay, wait a minute, maybe I dealt with my trust issues with Venus and Scorpio. Now I can feel a little freer because I've let a lot of that go. And if you think about it, this full moon is really about letting go of the mindset that has kept us back from taking right action that gives us a better lifestyle, a better view of life, and better experiences in life. So, I would say too that the full moon eclipse is going to really bring out our own personal agendas because it's in the sign of Aries, which is all about me. And there's nothing wrong with that, especially if you are dedicating yourself to more self-care or to speaking your truth, or which I will also say this. I know I'm giving you a lot, but if I do pre-record my radio show, I'll talk about this more. But speaking our truth, if you think about how often we think about a particular situation or conversation and we work ourselves up and we just have so much energy built up inside of ourselves. And the minute we actually talk to the person or we speak our boundary or we say, you know what, I was feeling disappointed at the moment, whatever it might be, suddenly the energy starts to dissipate. Right? Once you speak to it, the energy dissipates. This is also why when we're having certain experiences in life, and we do this at mystery school a lot, there's very often we will go through an experience throughout the day and we don't share, process, talk about it as a group until the next day because we don't want to dissipate the energy. We want it to cook. We want it to keep unbinding and keep revealing itself. So some of that is important. And knowing, that dance between I got to speak to it in this moment versus let it cook, see what gets revealed, and then share it. Because in sharing, it can dissipate the energy. So that's what I'm saying is that we may find moments where we have all this energy building and building and building. And it's like, I need to talk about it now. Okay, check in. What's happening inside of you? Is it yours to work through first before you say something? Or is it time for you to use your voice and say, this is not okay? So those are some of the things we're working with. The other thing I will say is that whatever gets revealed in the next few days and weeks will offer this opportunity to dive even deeper into ourselves and to become even more, not just self-aware, hopefully more radical acceptance of who we are. Because when we can radically accept everything about ourselves, we're empowered, we are lighter, we are able to communicate better, and we're able to work with whatever shows up. One of the best things in the world that I love so much about one of my girlfriends is she owns everything about herself. And she's like, she says she doesn't give a fuck, but I don't know about that. At the same time, the attitude for her is she's like, yeah, I was totally that way. Or I just said it. I don't care. Now, granted, it wasn't harmful or anything like that. But that's the thing I love so much about her is that she just comes off so confident and she means it. And I think that's the thing. And so if we can accept every part of ourselves and have that radical self-love and acceptance, guess what? Our confidence level goes way out the roof. And when we can feel confident in who we are, saying, I have a right to be here, now I can be of greater service. Now I can show up for my friends and family and loved ones in a much more authentic way. And that's what we've been working so much with, especially as we move deeper into Scorpio energy. All right, you guys, I gave you a lot. Like I say, I will try and get a pre-recorded show done before I leave for mystery school. And if not, hang in there. I will get some good replays on. And just know I'm here to support you however I can. Thank you so much for liking, subscribing, sharing these videos. Please sign up if you haven't to subscribe because that helps to give the channel a boost and I can get more of this information out there if it resonates with you or friends and loved ones. All right, you guys, find me at 12listen, jamiedawn.com, and I look forward to connecting with you. Have a great week.